Hello again, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Love Letters to Pam, or you may be joining us on the YouTube channel, Traveling with Jack and Pam. And this is going to be a very different message from what I normally would be talking about, which is grief and loss, or maybe I would be doing some hiking, or maybe doing a cooking demonstration. But no, this one, I'm talking about the economy. And you're saying, well, what do you know about the economy? I'm going to tell you right now, absolutely nothing. So if you're looking for expertise on this subject, you came to the wrong channel. But if you're looking for just one guy's opinion, and it's not really even an opinion, it's more of an observation, I thought I'd share it with you. Now, I think, too, that some of us widows and widowers may feel the effects a little bit more than others. A big reason is, of course, if you're like me and you're still working age and your spouse that you lost to heaven was working age, you feel the impact of losing that portion of the income. Let alone the deep sadness you have from losing your loved one. But that loss of income, well, it's significant. And I'm finding out that in today's economy, two can indeed live cheaper than one. Because, groceries, they're not cheaper because there's two of us. My rent is not cheaper because there's just one of me anymore. I probably should have reversed that. My groceries aren't any cheaper just because it's one of me. When I fill up my car with gas, they don't give it to me cheaper because I'm just a household of one now. The one thing that did get more expensive, of course, we've talked about this in previous videos, my tax bracket went up. Yippee! Yeah, lost income, but they put me in a higher tax bracket because now I get to file as a single person, which is a higher tax bracket. But that's a whole nother discussion. And again, that's just an observation. But a couple of things that have been kind of crossing my mind lately. I'm in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and I've been keeping my eye out on, well, maybe I'll buy a property at some point. I'm just a renter right now. But I actually had a realtor tell me the other day, said, you know what? It's actually cheaper to rent right now, even though rents are very, very expensive. And I see why, because the interest rates keep going up. Now, keep in mind, when Pam and I bought our first house, which was back in it was like 1988, 1987, we paid an interest rate of like 12, 13, 14%, and we thought that was just fine. So we have been through these type of economic times before. However, this time it seems a little different because a lot of people were able to get homes not that long ago for 1%, 2%, 3% loans. Unfortunately, I was coming right out of the loss of Pam, not a good time to make big financial decisions, so I sat on the sidelines. And I guess you could say maybe I'm paying the price. However, on our channel here, I've given you a tour of my place. It's actually really, really nice, and the rent is reasonable. You just got to shop around. But anyway, as I mentioned, I kind of watch the real estate pages and such because I actually have a real estate license. It's in the state of California, and Pam was licensed in about 4 or 5 different states. Now, she never actively sold. She preferred more the assistant type role and did a lot of marketing, advertising, things like that. But we both had our ear to the ground, so to speak, when it came to real estate and kind of understood the dynamics pretty well and have a pretty good handle on that. Even when I was in television, local television, when I was in Bend, Oregon, I used to do a fun segment on our afternoon talk show showing you how much you could buy for your money outside of Bend, Oregon, because Bend, Oregon was a highly inflated market, still very inflated, and I would show what you could get for much less money in other parts of the country. That segment, however, now would not be quite as easy to do because it seems like everywhere around the country, real estate prices have just skyrocketed over the last year or 2 or 3. Now, there are still some pockets in the Midwest and parts of what they call the Rust Belt where you can find some bargains. Now, Phoenix, though, has had bust and booms when it comes to real estate. Not like Florida. We're kind of a resort city here. And we lived in Florida for a number of years, and we went through the bust and boom there. Unfortunately, we bought during a boom, and we sold during a bust. That was, in fact, our last home purchase in Florida was that we bought in 2005, and we sold in 2009. We were upside down about $200,000. So go figure. Yeah, we may have our ear to the ground when it comes to real estate, but the job, led us to moving back out west, and so we had to take our losses. That's just the way it goes. But I watch real estate here in the Phoenix area a good bit, and I've noticed a new category that's getting highlighted a little bit more on some of the realtor pages, or like realtor.com and Zillow, things like that. And it's where it says, you can put in what you're looking for, what type of listing. And now they've got foreclosures and some short sales being listed as well. Those categories have been pretty much empty over the last few years. But now, as I notice, as I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing more and more. I'm also seeing days on market. I saw a couple of places, it was like 200 days on market that were with them. And now, though, if you listen to like local radio, and I listen to local stations from time to time, I like talk radio, and they have realtors who buy time on these radio stations. It sounds like a regular call-in show, information they're giving you and sharing with you. Well, I will tell you, the local realtors here, they're always talking about, oh, it's always a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell. And they can put a positive spin on anything when it comes to real estate. And that's why successful realtors, they make money whether the market's up, down, or in the middle. But I will tell you, it is shifting. And I am hearing stories from folks who are, in some cases, unfortunately, having to walk away from homes because even though they may have gotten low interest rates, there are places that have had to lay off workers and such. So it doesn't matter if your interest rate's 2%. If you don't have a job anymore, you can't make your payments. And so things start to happen. And if you notice too, that in the automobile industry now too, we're starting to actually see some ads returning for some lower interest rate loans, these promotions that car dealerships used to run. However, have you priced a new car lately? I get back to that part of being a single income family now. I still consider myself, I'm a family of one. Now my kids are out there, but it's just me. But for me to even consider buying a new vehicle is just out of the question. I mean, you're talking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for new automobiles. And of course, the government's pushing, well, we need to all go electric. I'm still a little bit on the edge with that one. I really don't know how, especially working families, people who maybe aren't making even $50,000 a year, but maybe, what about the farm worker family out there? And they're just getting by and they're telling them, you got to buy an electric car? Really? How's that going to happen? I guess the government's going to subsidize electric cars for everyone. Oh boy, that's going to be another mess, isn't it? And then, so far as how the economy goes, one thing, and let's not get political here. Don't start with a bunch of political hate comments because I am about as middle of the road as you can get. Okay, I really, really am when it comes to politics. I don't have any dogs in the fight right now. I don't like any of them. I'm not planning on voting for any of them. I mean, there used to be that saying, throw the bums out. I'm thinking about 90% of Congress and right through the White House and everybody else, yeah, get them all out. But who the heck are we going to put in there? Who are we going to put in? Oh, you've got your ideas. I know. Here goes this lighting up down there for the comments. But I did hear that our current president today said his economic policies, they're working and they're helping lower middle income families. And I thought, man, I said, I don't know what he's drinking, but I'm not seeing or feeling that. It seems like every time I go to the grocery store, every item goes up 25, 50 cents. And then if you put that on top of like 25 items, you've got a 50-cent increase. Well, that comes up to $12.50 more on that trip to the grocery store. Gasoline, at least here in Arizona, has finally started coming down. We're still paying around $4 a gallon here, some of the highest prices in the nation. And they always tell us, they'll have these reports from AAA say we can expect the prices to be decreasing soon. I don't know when soon is in their vocabulary. To me, soon means next week. Well, we've been talking about gas prices expected to slowly decline for weeks and weeks now. And they finally are on the decline just a little bit, but we still have some of the highest prices in the country, right up there with California. The other thing I don't understand about our current government's economic policies that they say are working is they announced, I think today, we're going to probably see 2 more rate increases by the Federal Reserve. Why do they keep doing that? And I know I've got some economic professors out there right now who are going to school us on why it's good to keep raising interest rates. But for the common guy out there, the common guy and woman out there, it's hurting continuing to raise those interest rates. Now, some will say, but savings rates are up. But if you're spending more of your money on just the things to get through daily life, you're not saving anymore, so you're not benefiting from those higher interest rates, are you? Now, my best advice is if you can, clear all the debt you have possible. You got to get rid of the debt in your life. I'm blessed. I don't have any debt in my life. But sometimes I think of renting as debt. But then again, someone once said, oh, they coined that phrase eons ago about, well, when you're renting, you're just throwing your money away. Then I heard an economic guru say, no, you're not. You're paying for shelter. You really are. You're not throwing the money away. You're not living on the street. So if you're a renter, don't feel bad about renting. Okay, I really don't feel bad about renting. I have a nice place. They, in exchange for my money, give me a nice, safe place to live. It's well insulated. It's well appointed. And right now, given the prices of homes and the interest rates, I would pay a whole lot more to live in a place like this. But I digress. Back to this interest rate thing. I'm just not getting it. I mean, if they increase rates 2 more times, I mean, so far, I have not seen it work. Now, they will sometimes say, well, they've slowed inflation. Instead of stuff going up 12% last month, it only went up 7% this month. The problem is, if you start going backwards, say over the last 12 months, go, well, it went up 5% that month, 3% that month, 8% that month, 11%. You kind of get the idea. The other day, for example, I got the oil changed on my car. Have you paid for an oil change lately? I looked at my receipt 16 months ago. No, it was about 18 months ago. The oil change on my Toyota, it's a Highlander, at the dealership was $39.95 and included a complete tire rotation and the full inspection check as well. I got my oil changed yesterday. And it was, luckily they had an online dealer coupon. You're probably saying, well, why do you go to the dealer? Well, I'm going to tell you. The dealer is actually cheaper than your Jiffy Lube and places like that, at least here. Anyway, with my coupon, I paid $79.95 for that same exact oil change, and now they don't include rotating the tires. That means that oil change in an 18-month time period doubled, well, it went a little over doubled in price. Keep in mind, it was $39.95, now it's $79.95. You tell me, how are these economic plans benefiting working families and the poor? I just don't get it. When I talk to agencies out there who are serving working class folks, and if you want to call them the poor, they tell me that's not who they're serving all the time now. They're serving people like you and me. I did a program with the Eastern and Central North Carolina Food Bank out of Raleigh. They said they serve a 34-county area. They've got 500,000 people they have served the last month. 500,000 people. Shelters across the nation. I've done programs with them. They say they have never seen anything like it, that people are coming to the shelters who have jobs, who have families, but they've been priced out of their homes. Or in one case, it was a shelter where a woman who was a college professor had to come to the shelter because the government had seized all of their assets. Her husband did something wrong with taxes, probably was pretty bad. So they seized all their assets, took the home, seized the bank accounts. He's now in jail somewhere, and she's a college professor without a nickel to her name, living in a shelter. Now, eventually, she'll probably get back into some type of rental situation, something like that. But that was tough to hear. And stories like that are a little uncommon. But other stories of people losing their homes and places to live, it's becoming all too common. Now, again, I am no economic expert, but it kind of feels like a tidal wave is a-coming if we don't change the current course of things out there. Now, what's funny is, though, there are still a lot of people, though, making a lot of money, and even here in the Phoenix area, I'll overhear investors talking, say at a coffee shop, talking about how I just got a steal of a deal on a property. I think I can get at least $5,000 a month for this house. And $5,000 a month? Yeah, there's still people out there that can afford that. Now, another thing that's happening, though, is we're running into more and more of these group situations. I had a woman tell me the other day how this beautiful home across the street from them was owned by a gentleman, and he'd been in it for about a year. And she says, then the gentleman took in a roommate. Another guy moved in. She said, then a couple moved in, and then another couple with 2 small children moved in. She says there's now like 8 cars parked out front every night. This is in a high-end neighborhood. a high-end neighborhood, and there are multiple people living in the home. There's obviously not an HOA there, so they can't really regulate it. And you really can't fault the people. They're just doing the best they can to keep a roof over their heads. But things like that are starting to happen. And I'm afraid, though, that the general public out there is just still kind of, they can't see it. They don't want to believe it. But we got to do something. And I don't have the answer. I'm not the economics professor. But I am going to disagree on raising interest rates. I think, we need to stop raising the interest rates. But if you can, get rid of your debt. It does help not having any debt. But it is still tight. So those of you that have debt and you're trying to service that debt as well as pay your bills, pay your rent and all that, I feel for you. I know it's tough out there because, again, it's tough for me and I don't have any debt right now. So that's about it. I didn't help you with anything. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to discuss this subject. Please keep your comments in the comments section civil. Of course, 98% of you never watch these videos to the end, so you already started with your negative comments up earlier. That's okay. It's a free country, right? Hey, keep subscribing, keep watching. Thanks again. And you know what we got to work on? Make it a great day, better yet, a better tomorrow. Bye now, everyone.